we now know the 24 clubs that will make up the 2025-2026 League One campaign, but who, of course, will be promoted to the Championship? Well, today, in this video, we're going to find out. That's right, folks, back once again with another video. Today is the 2025-2026 insanely early League One predictions, and I'm going to give you those in just 1 second. If you're new, where you been? Smash your subscribe button on social for Blackburn Rovers, League One, World Football. We're going to all hear under one Rooski. That's right, of course, the season has just come to a close, but we're already prepping for next year's, that's right, and who we think will be promoted to the Championship, who, of course, will be relegated to League Two. I'll give you my early door predictions in just a second. Big shout out to the members, big shout out to the patrons, you know who you are, but what we're going to do now, though, is, of course, start from the middle of the pack, work our way down before we reveal the top end of the table and my tips for the top. So sit tight, hold on, let's get into it. It's a 13th spot over in League One, and it's Lincoln City, and it's Michael Scabula's boys. Again, a couple of seasons back, they were knocking on the door for the playoffs in League One, but last season, again, a bit of an anticlimactic end to the season, and nowhere near that top six destination, which I think they're planning on at the start of the season. Again, this division, League One, is going to be ultra difficult this time around, and I actually had difficult playing or positioning Lincoln as high as 13th, so this might be a monumentally difficult season for the Imps at Sincilbank. Into 14th spot we go now over in League One, and it is Huddersfield Town, that's right. Currently, as of recording, John Worthington's still at the helm, but surely that cannot be the case. They're in a good position. I think I read David Wagner could be at the helm to return to where he, of course, made huge strides last time. Not only got them promoted, they got them promoted to the Premier League, goodness gracious me. Yes, I don't know if that's going to be the case this time around. There's an old expression out there, never go back. So if that's the case, then, you know, I do think they'll be in better hands, and maybe not as low as 14th. But right now, under the current interim governor there, John Worthington, they're in trouble. They're in a bit of trouble. So we'll see. We'll see what the summer progresses, and maybe if they do have a better equipped and more experienced manager, Huddersfield will be competing for those top 6 spots maybe, and maybe even challenging for the top 2, who knows. It's a 15th spot we go over in League One, and it is Doncaster Rovers, fresh off the back of their League Two success last time around, still with Grant McCann back in the English third tier. I do think Doncaster can compete at this level. I don't think they're going to compete for the top end of the table, but I do think they'll be quite comfortable or well clear from safety. They've got the gear, they've got the morale, they've got the fans are back in full voice, and I think they've got the right man, especially at this level. I think Grant McCann is definitely a well-capable League One manager, and I think he'll do quite fine keeping Doncaster Rovers at this level. Maybe putting the building blocks in place for a future challenge for the top end in seasons to come. But until then, they're comfortably 15th spot. Into 16th spot we go now over in League One, and it is Port Vale, that's right, back in the third tier, following on from the success of Darren Moore last season. Of course, quite hard to believe that Darren Moore took the plunge for the League Two club, but he got him back at the first time of asking. Can he maintain that League One status? I do think so. I just think 16th spot will be a stepping stone for something more concrete for them moving forward. I do think League One's going to be a difficult season for a lot of these clubs, and just sticking around in the division might not necessarily be the first bullet point on the agenda for the new season, but a team such as this should take it, because I think they could easily get sucked into a relegation discussion if they're not careful. So good, strong start for Port Vale, 16th spot in League One. Into 17th spot over in League One, it's Gary Bowyer's Burton Albion, that's right. The Pirelli saw some fantastic moments last season where they were hanging on for survival. They did just about that, but I do think it's going to be another season of struggle for them. I just don't think they have the quality at the moment to kick on forward towards the top end. I don't think it'll be as bad as it was last season. I think they are much stronger than they are with GB at the helm. So I think they'll be closer towards mid-table than they are the bottom, but again, still a long season ahead for GB and co. To 18th spot we go now, and it's Rotherham United, that's right, of course. Yet to announce a full-time manager, unless Matt Holmeshaw has been given the role on a full-time basis. I don't think he has, but if he has, that's even more worrying than I've already got them pegged down for. So the Millers, of course, were one of the favourites last time around. I just don't think they've got the quality at the moment to punch with the big boys of this season, especially with the concerning matter of the gaffer, who is going to be. So, yeah, I think the Millers will have another transitional season this time around, and maybe build on something for, of course, the following season. But right now, mid-table obscurity, no fear of going down, but really not really challenging for the top 6 spots in this upcoming season. To 19th spot we go over in League One, and it is Exeter City. That's right, under Gary Caldwell. Of course, not too long ago signed a long-term contract. He is the man in the plan, and I think Exeter City are just happy to be at this level. They may, of course, have dreams to get into those playoff spots, but I think right here, right now, that is quite far from the case. This league is going to be tough as old boots this time around. It's definitely much stronger than it was last season, and I think they're going to take a bit of a backward step. But their future is bright with Gary Caldwell at the helm. He's, of course, they're backing him, and hopefully, I think in the end, they'll get just desserts, just rewards for their efforts to sticking by him. But this season is not it. We go now over in League One. It is Bradford City, that's right, who made it over the line at the lastminute.com. It couldn't even have been tighter, that's right. But they're here. Graham Alexander's done a great job, and I'm happy that they're back because they're a big boy, a sleeping giant, and they need to be woken up. I think also it's going to be a tough old slog for them to stick around in the division this time around. I have them hanging on here by the skin of their teeth, 25, and they should take that right now because it's a tough old slog this League One campaign, and survival should be the complete and utter focus. 20th place, Graham Alexander's Bradford City. They're back in League One at long last. It's the 21st spot we go now over in League One, and it is AFC Wimbledon. That's right, Johnny Jackson's boys fresh off the back of their success in the playoffs last season. I think they're going to fall short, though, this campaign for survival, of course. Just making that transition into the third tier is going to be huge, but I think the quality, the gulf between the survival and, of course, relegation is very, very difficult. We already saw it last season with some of the teams that were expected to do very well, of course, get sucked into it. I do think women are going to fall into that bracket and ultimately go down once again. Into League One we go now with 22nd spot, and it is Mansfield Town. That's right, Mansfield under Nigel Clough had a tremendous season early doors for the Stags, of course, but ultimately they are on a hide into nothing towards the end of the season. And I think if the season was another 5 games longer, I think League Two would have beckoned for Mansfield Town, and I think they're going to be on the cusp of that this time around. I have them all the way down to 22nd, which means relegation for Nigel Clough. Will he still stick around with the boys going down? That's of course a story for another day. But 22 spot on the board for Mansfield Town. Into 23rd spot we go now over in League One, and it's Stevenage. That's right, Alex Rowell's done tremendous bits this past season, but ultimately I think this division is so tough, so stacked, so packed, that ultimately I just think Stevenage cannot compete with the big boys of this season, and they will get undone and unstuck. Alex Revel as well, not the most experienced manager as well when you look at the who he's up against in the managerial dugouts. We've got some real big boys competing for his spot, and again he might part ways with the club midway through the season, and who knows, maybe Steve Evans will come back and reignite the team and get them further up the table. But right now my concern for Stevenage is they're going down. In the 24th spot we go now over in League One, and it is Northampton Town. Kevin Nolan done a fantastic job keeping Northampton Town in the league last time around, but will he get it right second time around in a full season? Well, that's of course the story for another day. Of course, Northampton Town are always punching above the weight being at this level, so I think it's going to be a tough old slog for them to stick around this season, which of course is going to be a tough old slog when you consider the quality that's coming down from the Championship, and of course some of the bigger boys coming up from League Two. So I think Northampton Town will struggle, and I think ultimately they're going to finish bottom of the pile. Of course, Kevin Nolan might not even be there at the end of the season. Into 12th spot we go now, and it is Reading. That's right, currently under the mentorship of Noel Hunt. Goodness gracious me, a little bit short in the end of the day last time around, but now with a new owner, they might come into this revamped and refueled. Of course, I think it might also be a bit of a season of transition for the new ownership, especially with this division being so tough. I think if this new ownership had come in last season, at the start of last season, and maybe a bit of investment perhaps, then maybe Reading could have squeaked into that top 6 and maybe even competed for a spot in the Championship for the season. But they're going to have to settle for 12th spot right now. It's a difficult slog this season. I think right now just keeping your head above water and keeping away from any relegation fears is the ultimate situation for the folks at the Majewski. Into 11th spot we go now over in League One, and it is Steven Schumacher's Bolton Wanderers. That's right, fell short last time around. I think it's going to be a kind of rinse and repeat this time around. I just don't think he's got the capabilities or the qualities moving forward to get Bolton out of this division. It's a tough old slog, this, and I also think Steven Schumacher's success has been built on the back of Ryan Lowe. That's a bold statement. I don't think he's got the quality. I don't think he's got the guy to get out of this division, and Bolton will find out in the long term. 11th place finish, Bolton Wanderers. They're going nowhere. Into 10th spot over in League Two, and it is Barnsley. That's right, currently under the mentorship of Conor Hoonahane, who I do think might be a little bit out of his depth when you consider the size of the league and, of course, the opposition that's going to be in it. A bit of a soft end to the season last time around. I just think the quality is not there at Barnsley at the moment. So for me, 10th spot outside the playoffs, and of course another season of woe up ahead. Into 9th spot we go now, and it is Wycombe Wanderers. That's right, under Mike Dodds. I think he might be the reason that they're 9th. Of course, I think he's going to lack the ambition, lack the drive moving forward, and of course trying to get Wycombe back on their feet following on from their Plymouth playoff nightmare. It's going to be a tricky old task moving forward. Is he the right man in charge? I don't think so. I think I've got major reservations for him heading into the 2026 back into the season there. So for me, Wycombe Wanderers ending up in 9th, ultimately a bit of a disaster. Into 8th spot we go now over in League One, and it'll be Wigan Athletic. That's right, under Ryan Lowe, of course, who did a tremendous job when he was last time in this division on a full-time basis. That was, of course, with Plymouth Argyle. He came in a little too late for Wigan, but the building blocks were there, and I do think that they're going to be there or thereabouts for playoffs. I'm trying to find a case where I can get Wigan into that top 6. I just think the quality of the division is too tough when you think about the guys coming down from the Championship, the guys coming up from League Two, and the guys that just didn't even make it. The Peterboroughs, for example, or Rotherhams, who are nowhere in it. I think it's going to be a tough old order. We're going to just be shy. 8th place for me for Wigan Athletic. Into 7th spot we go over in League One, and it's Cardiff City. That's right. As I'm right here, right now, I don't know who's going to be the manager for the Welsh lot over in League One. Will it be Aaron Ramsey? Will it be somebody else? I don't know, but they've got a bit of a rebuild to come at you this coming season. A lot of big faces are expected to leave, of course, which means maybe a chance for some of the youngsters to come through if they have some decent youngsters that could push this season in the 3rd tier. The question mark really is depending on who's going to come in to challenge for Cardiff to get them back at the first attempt, because otherwise, if they can't get it right this time around, it might be a bit of a long season before they do come back to the 2nd tier. So me, I think it's just going to fall short here in those just outside the playoff spots. I think I've got them. Where am I? I've got them about 7th. That's right, in League One. Into 6th spot over in League One, it is Leyton Orient, and of course Richie Wellens' gang. That's right, again in the playoffs last time around. I do think they'll make it this time around. It is going to be very, very difficult for the Orient to compete with the guys this time for the automatic spots, but I do think having Richie Wellens at the helm, and of course keeping those key personnel at Brisbane Road, will be monumental for them their season this season approaching. So sit tight, hold on. Richie Wellens is going to do his thing once again and put the Orient back in the mixer in 25-26 campaign. Into 5th spot we go now over in League One, and it's Peterborough United. That's right, Darren Ferguson still at the helm. It's what he does, of course. I think last season was a blip in the resume. This time around they're going to come at you rebooted, refocused, and they're going to go again. Fresh off the back of the EFL Trophy success, where they did beat Birmingham. Of course, a big feather in the cap there. But they are going to lose the likes of Poku. They're going to lose the likes of some of the key players moving up towards the top of the field. But Peterborough just do this. They get the new players coming in, they'll go again, and this time I think they'll be back in the playoffs into 5th spot. That's right, the Posh are coming back. Into 4th spot over in League One, it's Matt Bloomfield's Luton Town, of course. The Hatters are double relegated now from the Premier League to the Championship, and Championship now to League One. Of course, Matt Bloomfield has got track record for guiding Wycombe to the top of the table over in England's 3rd tier, and I do think they'll be there or thereabouts in the automatic spots this time around. I just think the quality is going to be difficult in League One this season, even more so than last season with the likes of Birmingham Wrexham blowing away the league. I think I think Luton Town will be probably the best of the rest, to be honest with you, and just fall short of the top 2 purely on the fact that they might lose quite a bit of their talent, and maybe Matt Bloomfield is not what he seems. It's the 3rd place we go now over in League One, and it is Stockport Stockport County, that's right, if they made the playoffs last time around. This time they're going to do just that. Maybe just fall short once again, just outside those automatic spots. They got the right man in charge, and David Shalloner. Of course, he's done tremendous to get them at the stage, and of course, the owners look like they're serious about getting these guys back to at least the second tier of English football. Now, again, they'll be a little bit short, but rinse and repeat. I think they'll be challenging once again in what will be a very difficult League One campaign for Stockport County moving forward. Into second spot over in League One, and it's Stevie Bruce's Blackpool. That's right. If the season was only 5 games longer than last time around, I do think they would have made the playoffs. But this time around, they're going for more than that, and that's automatic spots. Important to keep the personnel on board. Of course, Niall Ennis was a key factor in the goals. Can they get him on a permanent basis? That'll be interesting to see. Again, I am recording this early doors here towards the start of May, so things may have already progressed. But for me, Blackpool are in prime position to take over second spot. Into top spot we go now over in League One, and it is Plymouth Argyle. Now, the key to the success is, of course, that motivational master, Muriel Music, of course, did a fantastic job for Plymouth last season. Of course, who remembers that FA Cup success against Liverpool? Or who remembers, of course, those close to the games, close to the wire games at the end of the season, which nearly managed to pull off safety. Keeping him at the helm is massive. If he goes, which he's also been linked with some jobs in the Championship, then I do think Plymouth Argyle will struggle. But from what I got, it looked like he's motivated and determined to get the Green Army back into the Championship once again. So if he sticks around, these guys are going to go to the top, and by a distance. Top spot, Plymouth Argyle. They're coming back. Well, there you have it, folks. There you bloody have it. Those are my insanely early predictions for the 2025-2026 League One campaign. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down below your picks for the early door seasons here. We're going to keep you up to date with League One developments, and of course come back and revisit these predictions throughout the season. So let me know your thoughts and opinions about the picks, and of course your tips for the top. But now we're going to wrap this thing up. Subscribe, smash a like. I'll catch you later. We're done.